Lead Aspires session. We have great guests. AWS is on the mic tonight. Let's go. Happy Friday to you all. I'm going to let Chris, of course, introduce himself and the guest speaker. I want you guys to know, please like and subscribe. You know, Miss Mary's trying to make sure, we can monetize our channel because we have a lot of people out there that's watching. So don't just look at the video, actually like and subscribe. So it's the easiest way to get some passive income for the nonprofit. So I will definitely turn it over to Chris and Alexis, and I'll let you guys introduce yourself, and I'm going off screen.
Wow. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate your time. Happy Friday, TGIF, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. It's a privilege and an honor. My name is Chris Murphy. I work for AWS Security. I am part of the talent acquisitions team, sourcing for industry specialists. And today we're going to be covering an incredible topic titled A Day in the Life of. And I'm going to introduce the person that we're going to be interviewing today, Miss Alexis Robinson.
Hello, hello.
Take a moment and introduce yourself, Alexis, and speak a little bit about what you currently do over at Amazon. You are a principal industry specialist, senior manager for AWS Security. Introduce yourself, and then we can continue this fireside chat.
Sure. Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me, Chris, and working with me over the past couple of days on this. This is exciting. I'm very excited to be here. So I'm Alexis. I'm Lex, Allie, whatever you want to call me, as long as you pay me. And I have been in, I would say business, because it emerged from like business and IT for about 15 years. I started off at like CGI Federal, then EY consulting firms, then kind of came and mainly worked for the government mostly, came to Amazon in 2019. And I mainly specialize in regulatory compliance affairs, and now translating that to engineering and service teams so they can be able to build compliantly and be able to get that money. That is important. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But yes, that's my main job. I have a team of TPMs and engineers, and they mainly do data engineering and business intelligence, but they work on products for service teams on behalf of compliance. So yeah.
Thank you, Alexis. Appreciate the wonderful intro. Of course, Alexis actually just gave a high level. Now we're going to break down everything on a granular level, and we're going to get to know Alexis, and we're going to get to understand what she does as the day-to-day operations go, and also basically how her career started, and where she sees herself in the next 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 years. I just kept on going with the numbers. I just kept on going. We're going to find out where Alexis is going to be in the next 55, 60 years. Just in breaking down a little bit and understanding what you currently do, why did you choose your major in college, and what was your major in college? So let's start from the beginning on how things started for Miss Robinson. Why did you choose your major in college?
So I always was working with my family on their various businesses. My parents still have various businesses. And so I knew I wanted to be a business major pretty early on. So that I graduated from University of Maryland. So I was at the Robert H. Smith School of Business. And what led me to—
Go Terrapins, right? Go
Terps all day.
Go Terps.
All day. That's just what we do. Now, I don't know nothing about the basketball or the football. I'm a terrible Terp. Terrible. But yes, that is a thing. So the biggest thing for me is that I got into first accounting, because when I was in high school, I did this temp agency, Robert Half, and you're able to do accounting for different groups. And so I was like, all right, I like numbers and I'm good. I can do accounting. And at the time, they didn't have information systems. So then once they started, like my sophomore year, like literally they started the information systems degree program, I was like, oh, I need to add that in. My mom has always been in IT or dealt with IT in some way, shape, or form. She's a computer science engineer. And she built mechanical engineering at the time when she graduated and switched over to computer science later on. And so I was always fighting a little bit against that, but then I realized I was really good at it. And so then I added that in. So my majors are accounting and information systems.
So you double majored.
The double major. Yep.
Wow. That's a heavy course load.
Yes. I actually double degreed. So I actually added additional course though, because they didn't have a double major piece for those two. So they made it so that it was fully separate degrees that you had to do. So I did one like in the year, in my 4 years, and then came back and finished up the other one.
Did you get 2 diplomas?
Yes, I did.
Really? I didn't think that was like allowed, but that is so cool. 2 diplomas. Did you minor in anything?
Yes, dance production, stage lighting, and design.
That's cool. That's cool. Because like you have your career focus on accounting and information systems, and then you decided to just do something that you enjoyed. Like you majored in something else that was completely out of pretty much your career, right?
Exactly.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
So while you were in school, while you were majoring, what did you enjoy more? Would you say the accounting side of things, or would you say the information system side of things? Because in high school, you said you were incredibly good with numbers. So you could have easily gone into, data science. You could have been a statistical. You could have done so many things with maybe just heavy data stuff. But then you majored in information systems, so your career kind of maybe even took a change.
So I feel like I really love numbers, but I didn't really understand fully the impact and the options for IT at that time. So when I was at University of Maryland at that time, it immediately was very like paramount, like Big Four accounting. That's the kind of, work that you want to do. And information systems, since it was a brand new degree, it wasn't necessarily the school to go into IT after school for. So I didn't know, there wasn't a lot of IT companies coming to the business school. They were going to the engineering or the computer science school, but they weren't coming to the business school at that time. So I didn't know what all the options were, but I knew what the options were for accounting. Wow. So I would say at the time I lent more toward the accounting because that's what I wanted to do for my career. But I always did, and I was good at information systems. And I figured that everything that was going on in accounting at that time was migrating towards technology in some way, shape, or form. Like there was systems doing a lot of the work, and having an information systems degree was a good complement to a lot of other degrees: accounting, finance, marketing. You would see a lot of like accounting and information systems, finance and information systems, or marketing and information systems, and information system was like the supplement to it. It wasn't the driver.
That's cool. Wow. And you also had, obviously, like you had your parents influencing you, helping you, guiding you, mentoring you, coaching you, obviously through that process. Because you said your mom majored in computer science. And what did your dad major?
Mathematics.
Mathematics. Wow.
Yeah. So mathematics on his side and mechanical engineering for my mom. But then she went and did her master's at George Washington in computer science. And I remember like literally sitting under the desk while she's like just painting or like doing coloring books and stuff while she was getting her master's. So I don't know if that had an effect on me. It probably did. But yeah, she got into computer science when that wave was happening.
Well, the cool thing is that you saw an incredible work ethic from your parents. And that kind of transitioned into obviously influencing you, so that because obviously double majoring, double diplomas, you have an incredible work ethic, which kind of leads me into my next question and folds right into your internships.
Yeah.
Because while you were in college, you got a couple of internships.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what was the process like to get those internships?
So I was a hustler, man. I gotta admit, it was fun. I remember like I was a freshman and I was going to job fair, like career fairs, and no one wanted to go at the time. Like, you don't need to go until your senior year, your junior year, right? And I was a freshman. I was like, no, but I want to really like go and like get at this, because I really didn't like school. Just being real, I hated school. I wasn't a school person. I didn't live for school. I wanted to work. I always wanted was a work person. And I didn't really like learn from being in a classroom. I learned by doing. So I would do, very honest with you, I hope it's not an endorsement for this, but I would do honestly the bare minimum to get the grade I needed to get and then just get out of school. I was like, I don't like this. So I was always like ready to go and work. So I went to job fairs, and of course they didn't have internships at the time. Now they have them for like freshman and sophomore year. But at that time, like early 2000s, it was like, you're too young. We don't want you right now. And so I would be like, but I can like still help out. If you just give me this internship, you could do whatever. And so I convinced a company called Protivity to give me my first internship. And then I did like externships, which is like 2-week programs, the different things. They were like newly creating them, like my sophomore year. It was just always little things here and there. I still worked at Robert Half, the temp agency, on the side. I also was a security guard too at like Pinkerton Security. So I could like study at night. So I would do the night shifts. So I could study at night because no one was there. I could still do my shift and like do and get all my homework done. So I was like a workaholic. I was a little crazy. I still am, but that was definitely peak crazy Alexis time. But yeah, I took advantage of everything. Yeah. And then I did my first internship that I would say like, oh, was like a intentional, I'm trying to do this for a career, was at KPMG my junior year. And that one was for forensic accounting at the time. And that was relatively new. And I liked it. Yeah.
That sounds cool, forensic accounting.
Yeah, it was cool. It was just, I went at the wrong time. It was at that time, it was during the Obama administration, when everyone that was needed to do this kind of work had to have a headquarters in the US. And KPMG at that time didn't have a headquarters in the US. So all that work was shutting down, and they offered no like offers afterwards. But it was fine, because I was like, okay, I want to get as much as possible. I told us in the very beginning, I'm going to get as much, understanding of this as possible and carry it over for something else.
Right.
But yeah.
Also, the economy wasn't the best at that time too.
No, it wasn't. It was when I was leaving school, it was like I was competing with people that should have graduated, but had their offers rescinded because of the market collapse. So all the big places that used to, I'm going to say some names that people be like, what?
When Lehman Brothers
went collapsed, Lehman Brothers heavily recruited at University of Maryland. Arthur Anderson was there. Like a lot of these big companies were there, and they like had a large pipeline coming out of these schools. So it was a struggle getting out of school and working at some of the prestigious places. But it also provided an opportunity for me to like do something different and lean more into the IT, which really never stopped. It's like finance was going down, accounting was affected as well, and things were slowing down in general. There's a lot of loss of trust in the finance industry as well as the accounting industry. So when I graduated, I didn't go into Big Four. I went right into IT.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool about, like, if you look at your career, you also did a bunch of internships, which kind of like made your resume bulletproof in that sense, so that when you did come out of school, like people wanted to hire you because of the internships that you jumped on as a freshman, as a sophomore, as a junior, as a senior. And then on top of that, double majoring, you're putting yourself out there in front of the crowd to say, hey, listen, I am a viable candidate, and I'm a lot stronger than what most people are offering, because information systems, accounting, the security side of things, the technology side of things, then on top of that, the data-driven mathematics side of things, it's an incredible piece to kind of put together. Were any of those internships paid?
Oh, I actually,
none of my internships were ever paid during college.
No, they were all paid.
That's
great.
All paid.
They were all paid.
That's amazing. Great. That's amazing. I mean, I've gotten some stipends, like lunch, other things like that, but none of my internships were ever paid for me. That's awesome.
They were. I don't know what deal they had. You're right, because I don't know what deal they had in Maryland or something, but like every one of them were paid in some way, shape, or form.
Great. What was your favorite internship, and how did you land that? Like, that opportunity?
I would have to say it was Protivity. It was my first one. And that was because it was an open space. That's where I really learned risk management from the ground up. Like,
Wow.
they were honest with me. They probably didn't have, room for an offer. I was just learning on the job. I was like, so entering my sophomore year. And they really just didn't have they didn't have the same lines and, silos as a lot of companies did. So you could literally learn anything and go anywhere and get your own and like work on things that interested you
Kind
and
of
help people out.
like a startup
It
almost.
it was very startup-y. So it just didn't it was like I could get so much exposure very early. And I love that because that's exactly what an internship should be. It should
Mhm.
be about giving you exposure to what you want to do career wise. And it's not just about, giving you set up for a job later on, but it's also what do you actually want to do? So
Right.
it was a great experience. I love the people there. The people were so good.
Did you seek mentorship out in that opportunity?
Not then, because I had some really good connections. Like with my mom's work and us being in DC and everything, I already had some really solid mentors that were guiding me through everything, And it's a blessing because I think I wouldn't have landed where I am now if it wasn't for having good mentorship and good role models that really like helped me understand how to navigate things.
I think that's one of the most important aspects of advancing yourself in your career is networking and seeking out the right mentorship and coaching from any space that you're looking to get into, which
Yeah,
the reason why I'm asking you these questions is because I think they're just powerful feedback in how you've advanced yourself in your career. If you
yeah.
think about that, which I think is just a phenomenal tribute
No,
to that.
honestly, even as a like full adult, then I was a baby adult, not full adult. Every new role, every new opportunity, every new company, I seek out mentors because you need a mentor for different things. There's like your life mentor who
Hmm.
is like start off as your role model and like you've hit certain milestones that like, all right, they can guide me through these situations. And
Hmm.
then there is you want a mentor that knows how the company works. Like who like how they've been able to navigate the politics or achievements, whatever here. Then you need a mentor that knows specifically about different milestones of your career. So like when I first made manager, I was like, I need a mentor for how to manage people.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I need a mentor for how I can get money. Because when I got promoted to senior manager at EY, it was about getting revenue and keeping a certain revenue and you being utilized and all that. And I needed a mentor for that. When I got to Amazon, I immediately was like, I need a mentor for just being in tech because I wasn't in tech before this. I never like even worked with tech. Like, well, no, I worked. One of my clients was Microsoft at a time, but it was for a government-based like thing that they need done. But I didn't really have as much exposure to tech, so I needed mentors for tech as well. And then transitioning from government compliance to product management for service teams, I have mentors for that too. So it's like every different shift in phase in my life, I'm like, I need to find a mentor in that thing. And it's not long term. It's not like there's some that are long term, but the ones that are for very like job specific things are very like um time bound. So maybe when I was transitioning from, IC to manager or which individual contributor to a manager, I need someone to just walk me through the process and guide me through different milestones within 4 months, you know?
Right.
So it's 4 month mentorship. That's it. It doesn't need to be long. It's a very specific mentorship kind of thing to guide me through this and I can bounce ideas off of and understand where I'm going.
You, you don't know where you're going unless you have a guide or a mentor.
Yeah.
I think that is a huge, huge thing, and just to have in life in general, in business, and all the aspects that you said, which I think is 100% spot on. Couldn't agree more with you. And uh, moving on into certifications, you have a lot of certifications on your resume. Um, w- how did you choose which ones were the right ones for your career?
Okay, so this is gonna be a little funny. So some of my certifications I've gotten is because I failed others. So like I,
Interesting.
because I was accounting, right? I was planning
Right.
to take the CPA,
100%. That's a 4-part exam,
4-part exam.
and it feels like it's 10 years, but it's
Yes.
actually 4 years.
Yeah.
It is, and from my understanding, if you pass the first one, fail the second one, you have to take you have to take the second one over, right? The second piece.
Yes. So it's more this. It from the moment you pass the first one,
Hmm.
you have 18 months, or sometimes it was a year at the time, a
Yeah.
year to pass the other 3.
Hmm.
If you didn't pass the other 3, all 3 within that year, you start over.
They say that this exam is actually harder than the bar, which is like to
It
get
is.
your law degree.
The bar is actually one, elements of the bar is actually one part of this. So it's called regulation 1.
Right. Right.
And this exam kicked my butt.
Mary said, "Whatever, I'm an attorney."
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sis. I'm not trying to, no, I'm not trying to like bow down to the bar
This
in
is
the
what
hardness.
people say. This is not what
Yes.
we say.
I did not, yes, I have not said this. I have not LinkedIn this. I have not,
Uh-huh.
oh, she mad now. She gonna get us. Chris, you started this. I'm not getting in trouble with Mary. Okay, this is on you. So, like, what ended up happening is I started the CPA journey while I was in school, because all you take the test, you just
Mhm.
can't like get the license until you have the 150 credit hours, until you
Right.
finish the degree, have some years of experience, so someone to vouch for you, all that, right? So I did all that, and I was taking the test, and I passed the first 2 parts, which are pretty relatively easy. It was like business ethics and auditing was the first 2. Regulation and FAR, financial like accounting regulation, is like the hardest one, right?
Right.
I could not get through those 2. It
Oh,
took me, like, you know how I told you, like, you pass it and then you pass 2 and then it starts the clock and then you have to start over. I
yeah.
started over twice. I was at near depression, Chris. I was like, I can't pass this thing. So let me get other things. So when I joined EY, I knew you have to have a certification by the time you're making manager. But I was doing IT audit anyway. And that's what I really wanted to do, was IT risk and management. I could progress to that. So then I
Right.
got the CISA, which is like the Chief Information
These.
Security Auditor.
Right. Right.
And then or certified information security auditor. Then I went through that, but it was cementing what I already did. So what I think I realized and what I felt was that I was doing the CPA, but I wasn't doing CPA work. So it didn't relate to me. And remember,
Interesting.
I'm not a school person. So I couldn't just pass a test. I'm not a test taker. I have to be doing the work. So I was like, let me pivot to a certification that I know I can do and build my confidence back to go back to it. So that's when I got the system. Then when I was kind of a manager already, but I realized I really like project management. Like, I was doing a lot of project management based like stuff. And I was like, I really like this. And I actually was discouraged. People were like, you shouldn't get it. You don't need it. Just go back to your CPA. I was like, no, I think I've literally given up CPA. Like, I literally don't think I need this. And then I got the PMP. And then I realized, wait, I'm at Amazon. It's a very different culture. I need to be more strategy and leadership focused. I need a plan for scale. They're using financial terms that I don't know. I need to get an MBA. And that's kind of how I got into. So every single certification or accolade or degree I've gotten is not just to get them. There's always been a reason beforehand. For
Stra-
me,
strategy.
it has to be exactly. It has to be a strategy, because I'm
Right.
not a good test taker. So I can't just get it just to get it. I'm not
Mm,
going to pass. Like, it's not going to happen. I'm never
right.
that person. So I have to do it. I have to have a reason for me to get them.
And you also got them like relatively in a timely manner. It's not like you just rushed everything and said, "Hey,
Exactly.
let me just get all this information security certifications to just bolster up,
Right.
my resume, it's no, everything has been strategic. Like it seems like you got your PMP when you became a manager and you started managing people,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So, I mean that, and like for people that are moving into information systems and,
Yeah.
graduating college and moving into the workforce, being strategic about certain certifications, I think is a very, very smart move, because you can get your A plus certification, your network plus certification, all these certifications, but if they're not relatively important to your job, then what is the actual importance of actually getting them?
Also, certifications can pigeonhole you. So if you get certain
Interesting.
ones, and
Elaborate on that.
so certain certificate, I've seen this, not like, not talking about LinkedIn, not talking about, recommendations in the general way. I'm saying real life on the job at a company, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Someone gets the network security plus all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they want to be in leadership and management. And some people are like, but you're the expert. You shouldn't do that. So you have to think about how the combination of certifications yields to this profile.
Right.
So if you're really trying to do leadership, then you should get a leadership cert. There are leadership certs out there, or strategy cert, or go for an MBA. There's different things. Like you can do so many. There we go. You have one here. Like there's so many ones that you can get that attribute that you can be a leader. You can just do that. If you're trying to be the expert, if you just get a general certification, then you're missing out on a very specific certification that drives exactly to the expert level that you want to get,
Right.
If you're trying to be an AWS or a cloud group like person, then you need to get some AWS cloud certs that they exist if you're really trying to go down that path.
Right.
But it's like, instead of just playing bingo, which people do, and nothing's wrong with that, but usually it's their intention to be bingo. Like, so you'll see people that have like 15 cloud certs. That's because they want to establish their brand as the cloud person. They know anything and everything deep down technical in the cloud. That's what they're
Right.
trying to do today. So if you don't know what your brand is and what you're trying to achieve, it's very difficult to craft your cert curriculum and path,
Yeah, and I think that's really, really smart when you're looking at specific certifications that you want to specialize in, and you get them in a timely manner, and you don't just collect a bunch of certifications just to raise your salary. Because
Yeah,
a lot of people just do that just to raise their salary, and it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then you pigeonhole yourself, which is exactly what you said, and then you can't get out of that. So it all kind of makes perfect sense that you, and also certain companies compensate you for those certifications so that
exactly.
you can increase your knowledge base, which is
Right.
another route that you can go down too. Because
Hmm.
as you get your certifications and you grow in your career, you grow in your leadership, you grow in your capacity to lead others. So it all makes sense. You know. Um, so walk us through a little bit of, I mean, we kind of touched upon it, your career, but how did your career growth lead you to your current role at AWS Security, or may not be your current role at AWS, but the first role that you started at AWS with?
So previous accomplishments and, rapport with people in my field and industry that honestly led to the hookup for Amazon.
Before we go
So
there, let's
yeah,
talk about that interview though at
yes,
AWS.
okay,
What
okay.
what was that like, and what was your preparation like?
Oh
Because
my God. Okay. So, okay, bringing me back to a time. So I I got the interview because I was on maternity leave at the time with my son. And I was, first off, babies don't do nothing. Babies don't do anything. They just sit there. They don't do nothing for you. They just sit there, right? So I'm sitting there with my baby, chilling out. And my friend switched over from EY at the time to Amazon. And he was asking a lot of FedRev government compliance questions. And he knew I had the time because, once again, babies don't do nothing. So I'm providing him, examples. I'm helping him out. I'm doing research. I'm kind of contacting people within different groups within government for him. And then he becomes in charge of the team and he pulls me in. So he says, okay, you're the best person for this. I'm like, I don't know nothing about cloud. I don't know nothing about this. But I know I can get things done. He's like, I know, because we worked together before. I'm like, great. So he was like, but this interview is no joke. So I called a separate friend. I was like, first off, you don't have to worry about me on the interview. Like the hookup is just getting the interview. Thank you for that. You go away now. I'll go study and I'll use other contacts to kind of figure out how to be prepared. So talking to another Amazonian about the interview experience helped me immensely. She told me, wear this, don't wear a suit, wear casual clothes if you can. If you want to do a dress, that's fine, but something that makes you feel comfortable in, that's cool. All right, cool. Here's what you need to understand, the interview process. It's very open. They send you an email telling you, here is the interview, Yes, Mary, exactly. The hookup is the interview. Someone doesn't have to give you the job. The interview is the shot. Take the shot. You let the finish off. You can't just be expecting people to just give you the job. So
leading you to the door.
Right.
Your job to open it.
Exactly. So thank you, Mendez Thomas, for giving me the interview. But I know it was my work ethic and my stuff to get me across that finish line to get me the job itself. So interview-wise, I had to study. And there's a couple things you have to study. One, you need to study the Amazon leadership principles. You have to know them like the back of your hand. You have to know when they ask a question, this is what leadership principle they're really trying to get out of me for this. You need to have at least 10 to 15 different examples, right, of what you do, so that you're not using the same stories. You're going through six people interviewed me. Now, back in that time, it was before COVID. So it was in person. It was in person. So I went to the facility, right? I stayed in the same room and the viewers shuffled in and out of the meeting room. I love people. Obviously, I'm a talker. So I didn't want to just wow them with just the talking, but I wanted to have good presence and energy with them, make sure they felt good about going through this interview process too. I would get up, I would go to the whiteboard when they had questions, I would draw things out of my thought processes. I'm a drawer. I can't just sit there and just talk. I talk with my hands. I'm that person, right?
Interactive.
It has to be interactive. I made sure I had questions for them at the end that were no one else thought of this before. So I remember one question that I knew sealed the deal with one person. She's like, do you have any questions for me? And I was like, so what are you going to do about this regulation change from here to here? And they're like, oh, you know about that? I'm like, yeah, I know about that. This regulation just changed. What are you going to do about it? How's Amazon dealing with it? And he turned it around. It's like, hey, so what would you do if you were in this role? And I was like, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. So first off, you guys already have the relationship. I already know Ron Ross, who is in charge of that regulation. I would meet up with him and let him know, here's what Amazon's concerns are with the regulatory guidance that he's about to put out. But I would also help shape and influence with him to see what we could do. Then I would make sure our team in parallel at the same time is getting ready for it and talking to all the different teams internally to make sure that we have closed the gap in the delta. It'll probably end up being a campaign. I'm literally just going through this in my mind, and I'm just like, this is what I would do. And he just sat back and was just like, okay, all right. And I'm like, no, I killed that. But I wanted to make sure that I had a question that I didn't mind if it was switched back on me, I could answer that. I wanted to ask questions that no one else would. Now, no, I was very intimidated. Because when I came in, it was 12 other people interviewing at the same time. It was a pod. We're all interviewing at the same time. There was guys with pinstripe suits with pocket watches, and it was a real pocket watch because he brought it out. I thought it was Mr. Peanut. And I was just like, say, I ain't got no pocket watch. I'm not gonna do this interview. I was the only woman too. So I was even more intimidated because I was like, okay, so it's just me and I'm me, but I didn't understand at that time really all the benefits that I had. I was just like, am I just lucky to be here? Oh, crap. So that was another wave of, you know what? I got this. And I'll actually give credit to this woman. Her name is also Mary, who was a receptionist at the facility, because she looked at me and she just literally was said, "You got this. Go in there and do what you came to do." I was like, all right. Now, I would have figured it out. But
I
if it
like
wasn't
that.
for that woman in that lobby at that time, because I was in there, palm sweating on my little dress, just like smoothing it out, trying to figure it out. If it wasn't for her, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So it all kind of worked out that day. But study and preparation was definitely key.
I mean, I thought it was powerful that you asked an incredible question that most interviewers or candidates wouldn't even think of. And then the interviewer tried to flip it on you, and you had an incredible response to back it up. Because that right there is that's true Amazonian of think big, learn and be curious, and then at the same time, like, you're earning trust. Like, these are key things. And not only that, the fact that you're answering the question, like, you're hitting like almost every Amazonian leadership principle right there, like bias for action, like right then and there too. Like, that is really, really awesome. And most people, I think it's key that the way you prepared yourself for the interview and the conviction that you spoke into yourself, knowing that you were going to absolutely do incredible on that interview.
Well, the other thing too, I also give credit to my husband, who always been there every step of the way anyway. He drilled me that whole night before. Like, he had the questions up. And no, the thing with my husband that I love is he looks at the wins that I make. It's not just I made this win. It's this family's making this win. That's how we do things.
Beautiful.
So when it was like I'm going to Amazon, no, we going to Amazon. So he was the one that's like, hey, I know you got the leadership principles, what the recruiter said, but I got this other friend over here who told me this is how you need to do it too. So let's just prepare together. When I came home from work, he would be like, the whole week, he would just be like, all right, so what does this mean? What does bias for action mean? What does earn trust mean? All right, well, will be a great example of customer obsession. Well, but he was going. And when I didn't think, oh, I'm going to be able to make it, he was the one who was like, oh, no, you getting into Amazon today. So he was like, let's try out your dress. He ironed out my dress for me and my little cashmere sweater, did all that to make sure I had a good meal, all that. And I'm not saying you have to get married or I'm not saying that. It's just that sometimes with these companies, it is a Herculean effort and you might need help. So if you need someone to just bounce the interviews off of, mock interview style, if you need someone to just like do that for you, ask for it, leverage it. Don't think you can do it all completely by yourself. Because I still, even to this day, I don't do everything by myself.
No, that is, yeah, Mary just said it, mic drop. That's big,
Yeah.
because you need to have an incredible support system, and your husband was there for you every single step of the way.
Yeah.
Every single step of the way. It's like you running a marathon and he's literally running it right beside you, making sure that you get to the finish line.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And credit to you because you absolutely crushed the interview. And it kind of like folds into, you were the former head of U.S. government security and compliance, and now you've kind of transitioned into another, I wouldn't say industry though, but another role within Amazon. So where is the current industry going, and how has it changed?
So the reason why I came into a new role is because of that change. So and this happens a lot with Amazon, what I came in to do now was no longer needed for me to do. It's a running mechanism. It's built. I literally built a team, 30 people. They're doing a well-oiled machine. You can blink and a service will get FedRAMP authorized and it's going to get done. Great. I don't need to stand on the mountain of that. It's like, okay, that's great. Now it's time for me to do something else. But what I realized is other governments outside of the US also wanted to build their own FedRAMP things. I also realized that service teams really, really needed to get help with understanding how compliance impacts them. Compliance is a revenue generating activity. It's not just it's not just a pass along thing. If a service wants to be able to get JP Morgan Chase, they need PCI. If they want to be able to get a major, health contract with Pfizer or Johnson and Johnson, you're going to need HIPAA. If you're going to go to Australia and sell, you need IRAP. If you want Germany, you need C5. If you want Singapore, there's there's MISS. So it's like there is a compliance regulatory requirement at every market, every place you go. And if you don't really plan for it and really understand it, you won't really get there and you're going to be behind. We would have services launch at reInvent, and I would be at reInvent speaking on FedRAMP or something else. And then a customer would come up, when is it getting this? When is this compliance? And the service team would be right in front of me like, I don't know. And that's when I realized, ooh, we have a problem here. They need to know what their roadmap is. They can't just launch a service, just to launch a service. There's money on the other hand that they're dropping because they haven't gotten this compliance certification. So let's enable that. Or they have it, but they forgot they had it. And they don't understand there's always other activities that if they don't do could jeopardize them keeping it. So that's what I saw was the next problem. And that's what I wanted to build my next career around.
Wow. So you found the problem literally within your previous role.
Yeah.
Moved into another role, and now you're creating solutions for that problem.
Yes. It was so much fun.
I'm kind of speechless about this right now.
Well, what I realized in my career is I didn't want to apply anymore for just net new job. I wanted to shape what my next career would be. So the way that Amazon is, you write a doc, right? If you have an idea of something, you write a doc.
Absolutely.
I would write so many docs on different things that I became a lot more confident in the experience. So I was like, why don't I just write my new role? And I did, shopped it around, got it, moved into it. And that's what I'm doing now.
And now you're building out a team.
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It's fun.
So do you have any idea of where you actually see your role transitioning into, or foreseeing what the solution is, or already knowing what the solution is?
I know what I want from a goal perspective. I want every service to launch being compliant with the parent service, or already having a certification so they can be able to get to any market no matter what. That is my dream for them, is that.
Now, when you mean by market, you mean by either emerging markets or markets that don't necessarily have what you're literally offering?
Yes, I want it already set. So it's like, it could be a market that wasn't even thinking of this service, but they're already compliant for it. They're already ready for it.
So is there a market that you can kind of share with the audience that maybe you're currently working on, or is it proprietary Amazonian information only?
No, this one's public. So Korea is one.
Korea.
So I've been working with the regional team in Korea to help them shape a Korean version of FedRAMP, which is called CSAP. It just came out. They have low, moderate, and high tiers. And there are things within it that are very similar to FedRAMP. So I've been helping them understand what the blockers are technology-wise, understanding what the operational pieces are. And no, when I'm doing it in that way, it's not just on behalf of AWS, it's also on behalf of the whole cloud industry. We're all going at the same time. Let's just unblock, allow us all to go to the cloud, allow cloud to happen. For some countries, allow cloud to happen. And then the competition between the cloud providers can also occur. But for some markets, they can't even accept that they are able to go to the cloud yet. So US is pretty well, adopting of cloud and technology.
Yeah.
Some countries are still very scared of it and are still fearful of being able to leverage it. So, and most of the time, it's the easiest way to get them comfortable is introducing or working with them on their own regulatory or compliance framework so that they can be comfortable with the cloud technologies that's there. So
Interesting.
when you don't have that, then you just get people saying no. So a lot of people think of, oh, regulations and compliance is like, oh, this is burdensome. But sometimes it is the difference between a government entity or a private entity in that country saying yes or no to the cloud itself. Forget competition, forget Amazon, Google, Microsoft, forget all of us, Oracle, whatever. Just, are we going to move anything to the cloud today? So my goal is that we could shape all of these different regulatory groups within these different countries so that they all are able to adopt the cloud, and we can unblock that for all cloud service providers.
Would you consider that to be the most challenging part in your current role?
It's not as challenging. It's more, well, the challenging part isn't the unblocking, because it's all based on trust and relationships and providing information and that time, right? It's more so moving at the speed that AWS and other groups want you to move at. They're like, they want it now. And I'm like, well, this is going to be a 2-year kind of progression, But if you stay with me on that 2 years, you could get, millions of dollars. So it's okay. The other thing too is I also want to get to the point where service teams are compliant and they don't even feel it. Like, it's all embedded in what they do internally, and they don't even feel it. It's just automatic. They have no choice.
Can't microwave success. Takes time. Takes time.
But that's my dream in the sky kind of thing. But it's actually not even that dream in the sky. I feel we're getting close to it. It's just taking it further and further back and digging in even further.
So you add an incredible amount of value to AWS security. You add an incredible amount of value to cloud, to all these emerging regions, to all these countries that are looking to implement what you're currently offering. What do you find most rewarding or most valuable in the sense that you value about your role?
There's a couple things, actually. I'm going to try and narrow it down because I know we have more questions too. One, I think what I find valuable is the fact that I am becoming, more so now at Amazon, like the true adult version of what I dreamed I could be.
Wow.
So I wanted to be this quirky, nerdy, like fully realized person that also does their job and connects with people. And it was like a dream. And now that is actually what I do. So being able to see that, and now obviously I'm also saying it because just going to this conference and seeing other people look at me and be like, oh, this is what I want to be. I'm like, great, because there are people before me that I'm like, oh, I wish I could be that person, and be on that stage and doing these things, but also just doing this work. Not just to be on stage, just to be on the stage, but be able to talk about the work that I'm doing.
But you've mastered your craft.
Yeah, it took time. So that's one piece that I love about this. Second is I'm a problem solver. I love solving problems, and I don't want the same old problems. I want new problems. I love solving new problems and having the flexibility to be able to do that and be able to be like, I did that, so no. And it takes a certain level of certain mindset too, because you have to give up power, influence, something to start over and do something new. Like, a lot of people think, well, why would you give this whole realm up when you made this thing? Because I got to solve a new problem. I can't just be doing that. And in fact, when I stay too long doing it, I resent everything. Like, I can't.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you stay in your current role for too long, you almost kind of I don't want to use the word fossilize though, but you kind of stay stagnant in your growth.
Yeah.
And you kind of confine yourself, and then you find more problems and you're like, hey, I'm going to continue to branch out and expand my knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I'm a Sagittarius, Mary. I'm a free spirit Sagittarius.
I was gonna say, I don't think any one of us are
But yes,
um
fire sign. Yes.
are Aries. I am not an Aries either.
But I get bored easily too. So the fact that I'm able to be in a career where I am when I'm ready to let go of something, or when I'm done with that journey or with that experience, I'm able to hop on something, write a doc, and make something new. Oh, that's the best.
Right. That's pretty cool. That you've actually like created your own position. You find value in what you're doing. You find purpose on top of that. Because most people sometimes they kind of just they get stuck and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, how do I expand my expertise? How do I you start to learn and be curious, which is an Amazonian principle, and you start to take action on those things, and you start to branch off, and you start to do new things, and you start to create new things, and then the next thing you know, you're creating a new team, you're building out new systems, you're automating them. So and kind of wrapping up, because I think we have a couple minutes left, what's next for Alexis?
Ooh.
What's in the pipeline for the next, obviously, like career wise, the next,
Oh,
let's
oh, I
say,
know that. I
yeah,
got
let's
that.
like what paint me Picasso, a vision of what Alexis is
It's
going to be
gonna
doing in
be
the next.
I'm sorry, it's gonna be really simple. It's
Sure.
not gonna be I want to be a GM of my own service.
Wow. So
That's what I want to do.
elaborate on that. What do you mean by GM of your own service?
So when you're a general manager of your own service, you create a service or you manage an already created one. You deal with the business, you make sure that you are building towards certain requirements. You're adding on additional features. You're making sure that what you're building meets a certain customer base. I guess from the years that I have been speaking, I've been talking to customers, been working with different people, with talking with engineering teams, I see a new gap. And that gap ends up being a new service that I think we could provide.
I was going to say,
So,
you just based on this whole conversation, you don't want to manage a pre-existing service. You want to create a new service.
yes, I want to create something new.
Because if you take on, like, let's say Chris Murphy's service, you're going to take it apart and rebuild it back together.
Yes. Yes. Or I don't mind starting off with the features of an existing service, like brand new features of an existing service, like, and building that out, and just to get the experience. And then, hey, let's go ahead and do something new. Like, that is my goal eventually. And what I love about my role right now is because I'm able to see all of the problems that are occurring external to customers, while also being able to work with service teams. I'm able to kind of figure out some of the building blocks in that. And also having a team that builds products, I'm able to see them put those building blocks together for what could be another service.
Now, the service that you want to build out,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of service are we talking about?
Oh, I don't know that yet. I'm still in discovery mode. So I'm in a discovery mode of just what are customer problems.
Okay.
I'm also in discovery mode of how do I build the Amazon way? And then it's, okay, which problem I do want to pick afterwards that I can build a solution for that problem. Like, that's where I'm at now, is I'm still in discovery mode. I know what's next, but I don't yet know what that service will look like or what specific problem I want to solve.
That's seems very lengthy, but it's also your career, which is phenomenal.
And I'm honestly prepared to take at least 5 to 10 years to do this.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's you can't microwave that. That's not gonna be an overnight thing or even a year thing. That's gonna take years.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's gonna have to go through trial and error. It's gonna have to go through beta, through testing, through whole slew of stuff that I have no idea about.
Yeah.
That's for sure, which is really cool. There's a lot of people on this call that are still students, just graduating, entering into the workforce. What is in kind of closing out, what is the best advice you can give them entering into similar careers that you've entered into,
Yeah.
that
God.
if, you know, going back to like your college days, graduating, what is the one thing that you would like to hear that maybe you didn't get to hear?
One, it's okay to ask for help. That's a big one for me. I was looking back on my student years, I was very tough. Like I got to show that I can do this on my own. And
Mm,
no one does any of this stuff on their own. Some things, some
mm-mm,
problems are too big for one person to solve. And it makes it easier, if you know that early, it makes it easier to operate in a corporate environment where you have an arsenal of people that can help you solve these problems, but they just need inspiration and they need alignment. So learning that early helps. The second thing is your gut is not too far off. If you don't like something and your gut's telling you, it's not that you quit it. It's just like, this may not be your long term, you know? And that's okay.
right.
It could have been, oh, I want to be a doctor. Well, I don't like blood. So that that go. I can't push through that, you know? So if there's certain things, or if you get to a career or you get to some things at work, and I know you might feel guilty, like, oh, but I got this opportunity. I don't want to mess it up. But if you're feeling it and it doesn't go away, your gut's not wrong.
Mm,
That's another. And then 3, don't think that it's going to be this linear, easy, straight and narrow path. Your career could take 5 different roles, 5 different things. I've had it. Like it could go anywhere as long as you're doing what makes you happy and it's down a path that makes you feel good and you can go to bed at night and wake up. Not saying you're going to be excited every time, but you feel motivated. It's going down a direction that you want it to go. That's okay.
100% agree with everything you said. I think the one for me was asking for help, because sometimes as just people, we can be very prideful and not ask for help
Oh my God.
because I think so. Everyone has somewhat of an ego, I think, but when you take away the ego and you kind of humble yourself and understand that, hey, you're not a subject matter expert, that you're just starting your career, that you're looking to grow, that you need that mentorship, you need that guidance, you need that advice, that people are there to actually help you, and if you're getting fruit from the tree that is completely ripe, and obviously the fruit is the
Yeah.
person that you're working with,
Yeah.
then why stop, you know
Exactly.
so spot on. um this was really, really cool. It's been a pleasure interviewing you and really learning more about your role and what you do over at AWS Security. And I mean, I filled positions for you, so
Yes.
this has been awesome. And now
Yes.
fully understanding everything and how your career started. I mean, I can reach out to Chad and everyone else and just be like, hey, I'm just gonna serve Alexis moving forward, because this I completely know exactly what she's doing, and all the candidates that she's looking for, I can find them very easily. So um
Oh, thank you.
um but we appreciate your time, and I just want to say thank you.
Oh, no,
This
thank you,
this this
Chris.
was a very, very valuable interview for me. So thank you for taking the time on a Friday evening. We
Oh,
appreciate it. So thank you.
no
Yeah,
problem.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
No, thank you. This was a great conversation. And I want to thank Chris and Alexis for being here. And Alexis, you will be coming out to Dallas, Texas in March for our conference. And I promise you it'll be different in regards to sticklers for time. I will definitely look to have you come and join us and share your knowledge and experience. I find you to be a very fascinating individual and a go-getter in the space. And thank you so
Aw.
much. Thank you, Chris, for moderating. You're always great. I did send you my special little backdrop there so you can have it the next time you're
Appreciate it.
on. Yeah, you're welcome. For everybody that's watching out there, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you guys again in a couple of weeks. And thank you so much. Have a great one.
Take care, everyone. Bye.